It's Friday. Hello, good evening, and welcome to News 360, our major news bulletin for the day. My name is Kwesi Asare.
And I'm Aisha Yakubu Khalid. Coming up in the bulletin this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
Coming up tonight, Energy Minister John Abdullahi Jinapor promises reliable power supply from March 2 as maintenance works on the West Africa gas pipeline gets finalized.
Drama in Parliament as majority MPs prevent embattled Kwesi MP from making a statement on the floor because he has been convicted for contempt of court.
Also coming up tonight, the Ghana Registered Nurses Association suspends intended strike action following assurance from the Minister of Health that no one will be affected by post-December 7 appointments.
In business this evening, Acting Bank of Ghana Governor signals willingness to extend April deadline for restructured cocoa bonds under domestic debt exchange program to support struggling banks.
And elsewhere on the continent, Nigeria's ex-military ruler, General Ibrahim Babangida, expresses deep regret for the first time for annulling the results of the 1993 presidential elections. We've got details of all these stories, plus many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on your DSTV channel 279. You can join us with your views, comments, and suggestions on any of our top stories this hour. Feel free to visit any of our social media pages on Facebook and on X.
Expect reliable power supply from March 2, 2025 as maintenance works on the West Africa gas pipeline gets finalized. Sector Minister John Jinapor made the announcement while touring the facility. Also, he debunked claims of the sale of the power distributor, ECG, but affirms that the Mahama-led administration only seeks private participation in ensuring high-level efficiency. My colleague George Queening reports.
1 week is critical in line with maintenance works on the West Africa gas pipeline. The final peg out of the 4 will be launched to complete the over 3-week maintenance works. The 569-kilometer pipeline was shut down on February 5 to enable maintenance works, which included cleaning and inspection of the line. Also, to maintain integrity of the line, the West Africa Gas Pipeline Company is required by regulations to conduct pegging every 5 years. According to the Sector Minister John Jinapor, power supply will improve after.
At the beginning of next month, we should see the flow of gas, which means that power supply will be much more enhanced. We have a challenge though. We've received a letter from NGAS threatening not to supply the gas even after this exercise because there's an outstanding liability of about $75 million. And so government has to scramble around and find a way of meeting this huge challenge.
He was quick to debunk claims of the possible sale of Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG.
The commentary by some people who should know better that we are selling ECG is not true. It will not be sold. But we want some private sector participation to bring about a high level of efficiency, reduce the losses, increase the revenue base, so that we can pay for some of these bills we are talking about. The Minister of Finance, under normal circumstances, should not be taking the taxpayers' money, which could have been used for other development projects, to pay WACO. But today we've had to squeeze and take money from the budget to pay NGAS for this $75 million.
He assured consumers of electricity not to panic when there is erratic power supply, as government is working around the clock to restock the depleted energy reserves inherited from the LSY government. Barring any unforeseen challenges, maintenance works on the West African gas pipeline is expected to be completed by March 2, and this will bring some sort of reliable power supply, according to the sector minister. This, of course, comes as good news to power consumers. George Queening, TV3 News, West African gas pipeline, Tema.
Rightly put there by George Queening. So we are staying a while longer on this issue. Derek Emmanuel is a research and policy analyst at the Institute for Energy Security, IES. Good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us on News 360.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity.
Now, the Energy Minister says that the government inherited a weak system, and that is why we're experiencing our current power challenges. What is your own assessment of this entire situation?
All right. Thanks once again. And so the issues that got to do with the power sector, basically financial, technical, and commercial losses, as well as distribution losses. And so these are things that didn't happen just yesterday. ECG more or less has been experiencing low revenue mobilization, and that is why they've not been able to comply with the cash waterfall mechanism. The distribution commercial losses have been on the upward. Currently, we experience about 40% distribution losses, which is not good for any company. And so these are things that have been inherited, but as it were at first, we're not having those transparent communication for Ghanaians to be aware that we lack the financial capacity, and then we don't have the muscles to be able to comply with the cash waterfall mechanisms. And basically, that was what was accounting for the power outages. Other than that, we have enough generation capacity to be able to meet the national peak demand. And so anytime that we have the needed financial resources to be able to buy the needed gas or the light crude oil or whatever form, then it means that the thermal plants together with the hydro will be able to generate enough for us to meet our national peak demand.
Know that the current maintenance works by WAPCO has affected power generation. So explain to us, what are the likely scenarios if they are unable to complete the maintenance within the scheduled time?
Well, so for maintenance works are things that you can never take away from any company. Any company will have to undergo periodic maintenance works. And so for WAPCO, that was what we were supposed to do around last year, September, October. They deferred it, and then this new government had to inherit it. Now the negotiations have been done behind closed doors, and then they've now been able to extend it to a little further. And so for now, they are now undergoing the same maintenance that they promised that they will be done by the first week of March. That is good news, because when they complete this maintenance work, it will take another 5 years before we experience similar kind of maintenance work by WAPCO, or let's say there's a force majeure or any other thing. And so the alternative for government is that you rely on natural gas. Now, what is the alternative? The thermal plants can make use of light crude, they can make use of HFO or diesel or whichever form. And so you have to procure those ones. Now, if you procure them, it requires more money. So that is quite a financial strain on government budget, because that is quite more expensive as compared to the natural gas. So if the government of the day, as a matter of urgency, can be able to procure those light crude or any of the alternatives apart from the natural gas, then it means that Ghanaians will have light one. But you know, that is quite very expensive. Other than that, the end gas, you already owe them, even in relation to PRA, that Ghanaians do not pay, or even say the Ministry of Energy or Finance do not pay. By the 7th of March, they are also not going to supply gas to VRA, and that, even if anything, is going to require a 1 month advance payment. That is not good news. And so, for now, how can we be able to mobilize or get, let me say, money as a matter of urgency to be able to clear any debt, or come back to a round table discussion with them? Let them have that confidence with you that, okay, there is now transparency, and give them timelines of how you are going to meet those financial obligations. And I'm sure going forward, Ghanaians, as we know, who do not like power outages, will now appreciate that there are efforts on the part of leadership to be able to restore confidence into the sector.
Mr. Hache, another issue of concern is whether or not to privatize ECG. Now, the minister is saying that government is seeking private sector participation and not an outright sale. How do you understand all of this?
And so now the minister clarified what Ghanaians were worried about was they were thinking of a total transfer of ownership and liability and assets, as we experienced in the case of PDS. And Ghanaians, as we all know, that PDS was not successful because, one, there wasn't that transparency, things were booked, and then at the end of the day, they had to now take Ghanaians' money, and then instead of insurance guarantee, a whole lot of other things happened. So Ghanaians do not want a repetition of the PDS. Now, what the energy minister is seeking to do is that there's going to be a private participation in the sector, and I believe it's going to be in the distribution sector, especially when it goes to do with the billing, collection of revenue and co. Because as it stands now, ECG is able to collect their revenue below 50% of their capacity. And so assuming you give it to a private sector, that will be able to improve revenue mobilization, the metering or other things, and reduce that 40% distribution and commercial losses. then ECG's financial capacity will include. And immediately their financial capacity includes, then it means that they will be able to comply with the cash water flow mechanism. And when they comply with that, government does not need to now look for money to be able to show up the losses of ECG. No, they will now be able to comply, make judicious use of the cash water flow mechanism, and then Ghanaians will continue to have a constant supply of power. Because when there's money, they will be able to generate enough power because we have enough or more than enough generation capacity to meet our national peak demand.
Right. Thank you so much for that education this evening. Hatcher Derek Emmanuel is a research and policy analyst at the Institute for Energy Security. Now, let's take you through the state of Ghana's power generation. And doing this for us is Kwesi Asare. Kwesi, so tell us, where do we get our electricity from? And why has WAPCO been doing all of this maintenance? Has it affected our electricity production as well? Let us know.
Right, Aisha. So as we've known, there are three main sources of power generation. And so that's what you see on the board right now. We've got thermal, hydro, as well as renewable. And we know that Ghana currently relies heavily on thermal power production with about 70%, and then we've got 2% for renewable and then 28%. So there's a lot of reliance here on thermal power production. Now, still with regards to thermal, we know that there are 15, so there are just about 15 power plants currently in operation. And then out of that, there are plants that rely on both natural gas and other fuels like LPG, HFO, and oil. And then there are two that rely only on natural gas. Two of those power plants rely only on natural gas. And these are the Sonona Sogli, as well as the Anwamaso Thermal. Now, because of the current maintenance that's currently ongoing, we just have about 1,100 megawatts of power, which is just enough to power Greater Accra for 48 hours. So that's the situation we have at the moment.
Thank you, Kwesi. Now, let's take you to Parliament, where proceedings of the House on Friday ended in a drama when the Speaker was forced to adjourn sitting due to heated exchanges on the floor. A statement to be delivered by the embattled MP for Akwetia, Ernest Kumi, was arrested by the majority, which said the lawmaker has been convicted by a high court pending sentencing and should not be allowed to make the statement. A furious minority described the move as unfair, causing an eventual adjournment.
When they talk, they don't want anybody also to have this opportunity.
Proceedings were brought to an abrupt halt when the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Andrew Asiama, was forced to adjourn sitting to Tuesday. It all unfolded when the embattled Member of Parliament for Akwetia, Ernest Kumi, was invited to deliver his statement on the floor. This angered the majority MPs who demanded that so far as he has been convicted by the court, he should be barred from delivering or making any contribution in the chamber.
He wants to come and use this parliament as a shield. Mr. Speaker, it won't happen. This side will not allow that. We will not allow him to make the statement on this floor because he has been convicted by the courts. At least you should go and file an appeal. If you insist and admit this statement, and you allow him to make the statement, this side of the house will wash our hands off, and then we'll walk out and leave you to make your statement. We don't believe in undermining the judiciary.
What they seek to do is politics, and we cannot allow politics to impugn the integrity of the courts. We cannot.
But the minority MPs would not take any of that. They went ahead to make a strong case, demanding that the MP for Akwetia be given equal treatment like every other Member of Parliament on the floor of Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, do you have any notice from the court? No. Mr. Speaker, it is very important that we do not go searching newspapers to be finding out which Member of Parliament has been convicted. Parliament does not dabble in ake. Yes.
In the heat of the exchanges, the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament was presiding over the proceedings, was forced then to adjourn sitting to Tuesday.
If you wouldn't allow me, I will go ahead, suspend the House, and
you will not adjourn the House. Mr. Speaker, they want an adjournment. We would argue the case today. We will argue no adjournment. minute.
Honorable
You
members,
got your application, you are running
the
away.
time is 5 to 4 o'clock. You are in my hands. The House is accordingly adjourned.
Dissatisfied with the move, the minority then went ahead to address the media, indicating that the majority MPs are not tolerant of dissenting views.
We are reminding them that next week Thursday, the president will be coming to the chamber. We, the minority, God willing, will also begin the process of bringing to the fore all the issues that the government must undertake to bring social justice in our country. And we will not limit it to Tuesday. We'll go on Wednesday, go on Thursday, Friday, and we'll continue until all the issues of social justice are addressed.
The minority MPs are not happy, but the majority insists that the court ruling be respected. It remains to be seen how things would unfold on Tuesday when the House sits again. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Parliament House, Accra.
Nana Yao Osei, legal counsel for Gregory Afoko, has asserted that Afoko's trial over the murder of former NPP Upper East Regional Chairman Adams Mahama was politically motivated. Now, the lawyer's comment comes after his client was granted bail by the Accra High Court following nearly a decade of being on remand.
The Accra High Court on Friday, February 21, granted Gregory Afoko bail in the amount of 500,000 Ghana cedis. The conditions include one surety to be justified with landed property. The court also ordered Gregory Afoko to report to the chief investigator or the regional crime officer in Accra once every 2 weeks until the case is concluded or determined. His lawyers filed the bail application on Monday, February 17, his third attempt since his trial began in 2015. Lead counsel for Gregory Afoko, Nana Osei, indicated that his client's trial was politically motivated.
There were people within his big brother's party who wanted to do him in. Nobody can convince me that there wasn't any political hand pushing the matter. Why would the police decide that they won't bring somebody to come and execute a bail bond? You think the police on their own, what interest did they have? Somebody clearly was pushing the police. And I say this without any contradiction. I am very clear in my mind.
Lawyer Nana Yao Osei claimed that some NPP members who had fallen out with his elder brother, Paul Afoko, a former national chairman of the party, were responsible for the machinations in Afoko's trial. Gregory Afoko was arrested in 2015, accused of conspiring with others to kill Adams Mahama in an acid attack outside his Bolgatanga home. The trial commenced in 2019 and concluded in 2023. On April 27, 2023, a jury returned a verdict of not guilty against Afoko on the charges of conspiracy to commit murder and murder. Following the jury's verdict, a retrial was scheduled for Gregory Afoko, while his accomplice, Asapke Alangde, was sentenced to death after a guilty verdict. Asapke Alangde has since appealed the decision, while the retrial of Gregory Afoko has been adjourned to March 5, 2025. Lord Asare, TV3 News, Accra.
Another presidency, President John Dramani Mahama has directed the Forestry Commission and the military not to burn seized excavators of galamsey operators. He says there's a targeted effort to get galamseyers out of the forest reserves as government will roll out a more scientific and technologically efficient approach. President John Dramani Mahama made this known when the leadership of the Christian Council paid a courtesy call on him.
Galamsey is a major headache for all of us. It's estimated that currently about 1.8 million of our compatriots are involved in small-scale mining. And that creates a big issue with regards to issues of employment and displacement, you know, from small-scale mining. Small-scale mining is legal, and our laws recognize it. But it must be done in a responsible and sustainable manner. We have about 280 forest reserves in this country, and the ones that are affected are about 43. And so we did one operation in the Tano-Nimiri forest reserves. And we've gotten the excavators and things out. And so they're going to target another one, the worst ones, and then we'll take them one by one and get the people out. I've told them not to burn the excavators, they should confiscate them. We'll also have a mobile team so that in case they try to incurse again and the forestry people cannot handle, they'll call the mobile team to run in and go and give them reinforcement. We're going to have a conference with the small-scale mining because there's new technology that is practiced in other countries where small-scale mining is sustainable. Before you start a small-scale mine, you must do what they call a leach dam, and then you line it with plastic, and then you wash the gold water into that dam. After you finish, and that's what the big companies do, they have cleaning agents they put in the water, and it takes out all the toxins and everything, and you can discharge the water back into the environment. So we'll engage with them and bring some of these new technologies to their attention.
The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has suspended its intention to strike. The association took the decision after receiving commitment from the Minister of Health, Kwabena Menta Akando, that no nurse or midwife recruited after December 7, 2024 will be sacked. President of the association, Perpetual Ofori-Ampofo, who spoke exclusively with our Labour Affairs correspondent, Daniel Opoku, applauded the minister.
Government had issued revocation statements for nurses and midwives who were recruited after December 7, 2024. This created agitations and apprehension among affected nurses and midwives across the country. A meeting between the leadership of the GRNMA and the Ministry of Health failed to assuage the fears of nurses and midwives. President of the Association, Perpetual Ofori-Ampofo, served notice of a strike if government should dismiss any nurse or midwife. Her comments attracted backlash on social media. This caught the attention of the Minister of Health, Kwabena Menta Akando, who on the floor of Parliament said government will not sack any health worker. A week after, the sector minister, in addressing the maiden conference of African nurses and midwives in Accra, renewed commitment of government not to dismiss any health worker.
No health worker recruited last year will be dismissed. The Ministry of Health, including the Ghana Health Service and CHAC, has not terminated the employment of any health worker. We are committed to building and sustaining a strong health workforce.
President of the Association, Perpetual Ofori-Ampofo, has applauded the minister and government for rescinding its decision. She addressed the abuse she received on social media platforms.
Honorable Minister has been very emphatic in his statement that no nurse or midwife or a health professional will be sacked or dismissed or suspended. So it puts to rest all the issues.
You suffer some kind of backlash on social media. How are you able to handle it?
No, it's normal. For the work that we do, it's very normal. It's one of the hazards of the job. You put yourself in a place where those who are interested in doing partisan politics can hit you from any side. So all well and good. When the MPP is in government, they say I'm NDC. When NDC is in government, they say I'm MPP. It's normal. It's been going on for several years, and I'm used to it.
In a related development, nurses and midwives have met to discuss strategies to improve on healthcare delivery on the continent. Issues about conditions of service and health financing became topical at the conference. Perpetual Ofori-Ampofo, President of GRNMA, asked government to increase funding to the health sector.
Most African governments declared through the Abuja Declaration several years ago that they were going to commit 15% of the health budget to health. But that is not what is happening in reality in most countries. Some are doing less than 10%. Those that are doing above 10% are hovering around 11% of the rest. What we are calling for is to ensure that African nations actually commit more resources, more funding to health.
Other speakers appealed to African leaders to also consider increasing financing for the health sector.
And now, with the announcements by government to reintroduce road tolls, the Center for Employment for Persons with Disability is hoping to get more of its members employed. President of the center, Alexander Kojo Tete, says even though those persons with disability who were laid off as a result of the toll abolishment have been given jobs, a lot more of its members remain unemployed.
In 2021, Over 300 persons with disability who manned the toll booths as attendants lost their jobs after government decided to abolish the collection of road tolls. 283 were engaged by the Youth Employment Agency in 2024 to serve as gender and disability officers. The remaining 50 to 60 persons were also engaged between November and December last year.
They were posted to all the districts, the district assemblies, as gender and disability officers to advise the district assembly on the youth employment programs, how they could rope on disabled people onto the program. The rest, who were about between 50 to 60, were also put on the youth employment program called the BIP, where they were also posted to work with the disability organizations in the districts and the regions and the national. With the new government, we don't know whether the new government will continue with the BIP program, because the BIP program is like you are a beneficiary, you are not a staff.
Persons with disability currently forms 15% of the country's population, reason President of the Center for Employment Persons with Disabilities, Alexander Kojotete, is advocating for more employment. He says separate meetings with the Transport and Roads and Highways ministers were fruitful. He is positive that the reintroduction of the road tolls, though automated, would see some of their members employed.
During his vetting, he mentioned that the road toll will come back, but it will not come back like it used to be. It will be automated. And so we discussed how that arrangement will go. Automation means that we will need some skills, and our people need to be trained to be able to operate. Assurance was given to us that all those things will be considered.
But is the toll collection the only job for PWDs?
That is not the only, but it's an opportunity for also persons with disabilities. You know, the toll booths provide a fantastic opportunity because it has to do with sitting down and collecting money. But the plan is that a place like DVLA, where they collect to not only the roads, but anywhere they collect to persons with disabilities will be employed. And this, we are talking about people who have little or no qualification.
Rise sea levels caused by climate change threaten the survival of residents in 4 coastal communities in the Ketu South district of the Volta region. Residents say that the urgent construction of sea defenses by the government is necessary to protect their homes and livelihoods. My colleague Stanley Nibleo reports.
Distraction and despair define the lives of residents in the Ketu South district. Shifting weather patterns have continuously contributed to rising sea levels, leading to widespread destruction in coastal communities. For years, the people of Agaveji, Amutinu, Salakope and Adina have battled tidal devastation, with many homes lost to the encroaching sea. Entire communities have shrunk as vast areas of land are swallowed by the ocean, displacing countless families. With every crashing wave, the sea inches closer, eroding the foundations of existing structures and threatening the livelihoods of those who remain. A 4-bedroom house bequeathed to 70-year-old Alice by her late father was not spared. The once standing structure has now been claimed by the sea. She occasionally visits the ruins to assess the level of destruction, but she is left heartbroken, unable to salvage her land.
The time that sea they come, they scatter all the room. You have no place to stay. You yourself, you can see it. Make the government come and do something inside the sea, where they stop small.
Even the community cemetery has not been spared. Fishing, the primary source of livelihood for residents, has been severely impacted. Fishing canoes can no longer berth at the shore. The construction of a government-initiated sea defense project has stalled. This has left residents devastated as they continue to watch their homes, history and livelihoods destroyed.
As you can see, the major road, when care is not being taken and nothing is being done till the next month, the seawater will wash away the major road. And as you can see too, the high tension too will be washed away by the sea.
What we think we have to do is provide a lasting solution by providing a more sustainable sea defense for the communities. We need to reclaim the land and provide the defense for the sea so that we can get back the land and get back the livelihood of the people.
The acting executive director of the Environmental Protection Authority, EPA, Professor Nana Makluche, accompanied by the Volta Regional Minister James Gunu, visited the communities to assess the extent of the destruction and explore possible interventions. They engaged with residents and provided relief items to those affected. The acting executive director of the EPA, Professor Nana Makluche, highlighted the risks posed by continuous sand-winning activities along the coastline, which further exposed these low-lying areas to destructive flooding. She emphasized the need for urgent measures to halt the practice.
Keta area is already a low-lying area, so winning the sand means giving more way to the sea to take over the communities. These are all illegal activities, and of course we call on all citizens to be alert and we should correct each other. These activities harm us more, plus the natural disasters that we are seeing.
The Volta Regional Minister, James Gunu, stressed the importance of providing psychological and medical support to victims of the tidal waves.
This one is very terrible, very terrible. It's affecting their life, it's affecting their culture. You can see a shrine that was not spared, you know, and the cemetery. So the people are devastated and traumatized. That is why I'm very much concerned about bringing the medical people, you know, and then the medicines that they will need for the community. And then also the trauma that they've gone through. We need people who can prepare their minds properly for the future.
Coastal communities in the Ketu South District are gradually being wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels, a crisis exacerbated by climate change and human activities. A decisive government intervention through dedicated resources and the completion of the sea defense project could provide a lasting solution to the destruction and secure the land for the future generations. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Ketu South.
Stories this evening: a newly constructed kindergarten block completed with a computer laboratory and a 6-seater washroom facility has been handed over to the authorities of the Himakro Methodist Primary School in the Ahanta West District of the Western Region. The project, spearheaded by the Madam for Ghana Foundation, is part of efforts to enhance education in rural communities.
For years, students at Himakro Methodist Primary face significant challenges in learning, information and communication technology due to the absence of computers. They also lacked proper washroom facilities, forcing pupils to resort to nearby bushes. Madam for Ghana Foundation has intervened to provide the much-needed support for the school.
Our assessment when we came, where these children who are supposed to sit in a comfortable classroom, a nice school desk, they were not having that opportunity. And looking at it, we also want to help them to bridge the gap between the rural and urban education.
The headmistress of Himakro Methodist Primary, Alice Sepo, highlighted that the provision of computers will greatly enhance digital literacy and academic performance.
We promise to utilize these facilities efficiently and effectively, maintain and sustain them for generations to come. Integrate technology into our curriculum to enhance learning outcomes. We also promise to provide opportunities for students to develop essential skills. To Madam for Ghana Foundation, we say Ayiko.
The divisional chief of Himakrum, Nana Janfra IV, lauded Madam for Ghana Foundation for its generous support.
We in Nananum too have taken it upon ourselves to also monitor the watchmen during the odd hours to make sure that they are always at post to able to protect the computers and the other accessories that we have been offered by the Madamfo Ghana Foundation.
A reminder, you're still watching News 360. We'll take a short breather.
Good evening and welcome to the business segment on News 360. My name is Menu Aful. Now, the Bank of Ghana has signaled willingness to extend the April 2025 deadline for the special dispensation on restructured cocoa bonds under the Domestic Debt Exchange Program. This follows concerns raised by the Ghana Association of Banks during a high-level meeting today that the current market conditions and cocoa board's financial position make it difficult for banks to sell these bonds.
High-level meeting with the Governing Council of the Ghana Association of Banks, industry leaders expressed concern over the continued illiquidity of the cocoa bonds, making it difficult for banks to offload them. They argued that without an extension, the financial strain on banks could worsen, affecting their ability to lend to businesses and households. The governor acknowledged the concerns and assured the banks that the central bank is open to discussions on extending the dispensation. He noted that any decision will take into account the broader economic impact and ongoing efforts to stabilize the financial sector. The meeting also touched on other key issues, including liquidity constraints, FX market efficiency, and credit rating challenges. The governor emphasized his commitment to continuous engagement with banks to address sector-wide challenges and ensure financial stability.
In more news tonight, economist Debu Bachman is urging the government to take immediate action to address the significant income gap between low and high income earners. He argues that this disparity has pushed many Ghanaian workers into poverty, while a few top executives reap a disproportionate share of the wage bill.
A recent 10% increase in Ghana's daily minimum wage from 18 cedis 15 pesos to 19 cedis 97 pesos, effective March 1, 2025, has been met with mixed reactions. Many Ghanaians feel the increase is inadequate considering the current economic situation in the country. However, economist Debu Bachman suggests reducing salaries and other incentives of the political class and top executives to promote a more equitable wealth distribution.
You should be able to have a system where those at the top were able to cut their salaries for those at the bottom to also cushion them up to bridge the gap. It is something that we need to consider doing as a nation. If you look at the salaries that the CEOs of the public institutions are receiving vis-a-vis what the ordinary Ghanaian civil servants and public servants are receiving, you realize that there's no fairness in the way we have structured our salary. Those at the top are getting too much.
He also urged the president to utilize the emoluments commission he plans to set up to correct the wage disparities.
The president himself has said he's going to establish an emolument commission to look at the wage structure and see how best we can bridge the disparities. But in our opinion, it's not just about looking at the disparities between sectors of the economy, but also disparities between those at the top and those at the bottom of the structure.
Away from that, the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC, has called for increased investment in Ghana's oil storage and transport infrastructure to enhance energy security. According to COMAC Vice Chair Philip Teku, prioritizing pipelines and railway systems would provide a more efficient and cost-effective way to distribute fuel nationwide, ultimately benefiting consumers.
If there's any major attack on our country in Tema, we lose all our storage infrastructure. So we should have storage infrastructure ideally across the whole country, so that if there's any incident in Tema, we are not exposed. But we haven't backed it up with the right investment. We've encouraged an environment where capital is allocated to BRVs rather than capital being allocated to pipelines or railway infrastructure to feed these terminals. Yeah. So as we speak, I understand his situation, but I think we need an urgent solution to making the transportation of fuel between bus depots operationally efficient. Because I would want to take products from any of the depots, bus depots, if it wasn't an artificial creation of one BRB taking products to that depot for me to go and take it again. If we are going to continue with bus and zonalization, I think there's an urgent need that we fix the infrastructure deficit. Because without that, what we are doing is encouraging the efficiency to be passed on to customers.
Well, that's it for Business on News 360. My name is Menu Afo. We have more stories coming up for you, and Aisha will take us through.
The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namumulati, has intimated that plans are underway to facilitate the construction of 16 shelters in all the regions to provide safe spaces for victims of abuse to ensure timely interventions for such cases. Highlighting key insights of the ministry's agenda at an engagement session with women in media, she commended female journalists and broadcasters for their role in promoting women and children's development in Ghana. Here's a report by my colleague, Ekweofori Wadaku.
Key among the government's 120 days agenda is the implementation of the Affirmative Action Act, especially with regards to timelines and requisite resources.
It's been long in coming. Now that it is here, the people that the act is meant for need to know what is in the act and how they can also take advantage of it and make sure that it betters their lives.
The Gender Ministry is strengthening its partnership with the media to raise awareness about gender equality as well as promote women's empowerment at all levels.
Sometimes you see the men being given hefty contracts, other office, other logistics, and the women will be following down.
Addressing Ghanaian women in media, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namomolate, said that mentoring and coaching aspiring female journalists are crucial in enhancing gender representation in Ghana's media landscape.
Do you identify younger ones? This will also go into visiting the School of Journalism, finding out how many girls are there, picking some, because these things, they don't come when we wish for them, but when we take some steps with intentionality.
She further added that the Gender Ministry would be collaborating with the Trade and Industry and Food and Agriculture Ministries to enhance the school feeding program.
If you cannot feed it to yourself or feed it to your children, don't feed it to others. And so it's talking about quality.
Globally, social protection policies and programs have become an important mechanism for reducing poverty and inequality. However, Ghana's Social Protection Bill 2020 is yet to be passed into law.
The Social Protection Bill is yet to become an act. All of the things that we want to do around or on social protection, there's a need to have the backing of the law, and so that it is grounded and then it doesn't get treated as a privilege.
The Global Gender Gap Report 2024 measures gender disparities in 146 countries across 4 key dimensions: economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. Currently, political empowerment is the largest of 4 gender gaps at only 22.5% closed, according to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2024. Ekioferi Wadako, TV3 News, Accra.
This is News 360. We have some sports news coming up next.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. Let's start off with some women's football, where the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco scored an injury time on Friday evening to cruise past the Black Queens of Ghana with a 1-0 victory. The two women's national teams locked horns today in an international friendly at the Pere-Jego Stadium in Casablanca. Now, in the contest that ensued between the two sides, both teams put up a good performance throughout the 90 minutes. The only goal of the match came in added time when the host showed determination to score at a depth in to secure victory in the end. The international friendly match served as the first official match for the new Black Queens head coach Kim Las Boykegren, who is getting ready for the upcoming Women's Africa Cup of Nations to be hosted in Morocco. My colleague Akosu Ejay, who watched the match, believes that there were similarities between the styles of Boykegren and former coach Nora Haftel.
It was quite impressive to watch the Black Queens play 90 minutes against Morocco without conceding the 90 minutes, But it was very unfortunate to see them concede getting to the last part of the additional time. However, the players showed a lot of promise, especially players like Princess Mafo showed a lot more promise in the game. We also have to admit that Morocco did not play their main starting 11, especially even their goalkeeper. They did not use their first goalkeeper in the game, so we could have tried a bit more to maybe get some goals in. However, there's something that we were doing in the game that was not helping, that we kept on doing it over and over again. Those long balls whenever we wanted to be on the attack. But then this is Coach Lass's first game, so we would still have to wait to probably watch 2 more games to understand what exactly he wants to be doing with those long balls and why Evelyn was on the bench. But then it was a good game generally for the Queens to have just gone down by a goal against Morocco.
It's football, where Tram Devisa pulled off a major upset in the MTN FA Cup, knocking out Ghana Premier League leaders BBNE Gold Stars FC in a dramatic penalty shootout at the Tuba AstroTurf on Friday. The intense round of 32 clash ended in a goalless draw after 90 minutes, forcing the game into penalties, where the second-tier side triumphed by 4-3. In the spirit of Gold Stars' dominance at the top level this season, they could not breach Tram Devisa's well-structured defense. The remaining FA Cup games will take place over the weekend, with Accra House of Oak taking on Golden Cake FC, as well as a host of fixtures. Meanwhile, Asante Kotoko, however, maintained their stance of indefinitely suspending all football activities until further notice and will take no part in this weekend's FA Cup action. From Ghana, let's head straight to Europe, where the fate of the remaining 16 Champions League teams was determined early on Friday in the quarter-final draw for the competition. Let's take a look at some of the mouth-watering games that we're expected to see in the latter part of the competition. The draw sees Club Brugge face Aston Villa, Borussia Dortmund square off with Lille, PSV are up against Arsenal, while current holders Real Madrid take on city rivals Atletico Madrid. The only Italian club left in the competition, Inter Milan, will lock horns with Feyenoord. Premier League leaders Liverpool take on PSG. Meanwhile, Bayern Munich will face Leverkusen in an all-German encounter, while Benfica do battle with Barcelona in a repeat of the league phase fixture. Hansi Flick, who is the manager of Barcelona, has admitted his side faced a stern test against Benfica despite beating the Portuguese side earlier in the league phase.
It's a tough match because they are doing really good. We could see it in Benfica. They hurt us a lot on this day. And you can see also in the last round in the Champions League, there is no opponent you can say it's easy to play against him or to win against him. So it's for everyone now in this situation, in this round. It's very tough matches.
Meanwhile, Manchester United will take on Spanish side Real Sociedad in the Europa League last 16, with Tottenham paired with Dutch side AZ Alkmaar.
Rangers also face Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce in a tough knockout clash. Should United progress, they will meet either Romanian league leaders FCSB or French side Lyon in the quarterfinals. Spurs or AZ Alkmaar will face the winner of Ajax versus Eintracht Frankfurt, whilst Rangers will go up against either Roma or Athletic Bilbao if they advance past Fenerbahce. With United and Tottenham on opposite halves of the draw, there is a possibility of an all-English final in Bilbao with the Champions League spot at stake for the winner. I will now focus on Manchester United because head coach Ruben Amorim has admitted his side have more problems than solutions at the moment. The Red Devils suffered a 1-0 defeat at Tottenham on Sunday, taking their tally to 12 Premier League defeats in 25 games so far this season. They have won only 4 of the last 14 games since Amorim took charge in November and travelled to Everton on Saturday with the Toffees rejuvenated since David Moyes, who succeeded Sir Alex Ferguson as Manchester United manager, took over.
Movement in the team, but then you have some games that you think that are more difficult and you feel that we can play, we can create situations. That is a good thing, but I think in this moment you can see, when you watch the games, you can see more problems than solutions. I think that is clear, but when we play some games, I feel it that things are there and we are capable, but
And that's how we wrap up the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Oreku Ampofo. Over to you, Aisha.
Right, let's now bring you some international news.
We start tonight's international news from Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, where a former military ruler, General Ibrahim Babangida, has expressed deep regret for the first time for annulling the results of the 1993 presidential election. The former military leader, 83, expressed his regret at the launch of his autobiography, A Journey in Service, in the capital, Abuja. The poll was supposed to bring about an end to military rule after 10 years and the cancellation of the outcome threw the country into turmoil. The date of the vote, 12 June, is now remembered in Nigeria as Democracy Day. General Babangida was forced to resign. Moshood Abiola, widely believed to have won the election, was later imprisoned and his wife assassinated. Nigeria's current president Bola Tinubu said General Babangida had shown courage by admitting what took place. Finally, to our western neighbor Ivory Coast, which has officially taken control over the last remaining French military base in the country, as most French forces departed from countries across West Africa. Ivorian Defense and State Minister Tene Birahima Ouattara said some 80 French troops will stay in the country to advise and train the Ivorian military. France has now been asked to leave more than 70% of African countries where it had a troop presence since ending its colonial rule. The French remain only in Djibouti with 1,500 soldiers and Gabon with 350 troops.
Well, that's all for News 360. Thanks very much for making a date with us. For more news, you can log on to our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Kwesi Asare.
And I'm Aisha Yakubu Khalid. Enjoy your weekend.